And for me, it's very, very simple. The key role of a leader is to make your people better. And that's where it starts and that's where it ends. I've led teams of up to 1,500 people, 53 nationalities in that team. And, that's what my passion is. You see at the top, then you've got stores directors and area managers and salespeople at the bottom, right? And then what he did, he then flipped it over and he said, look, forget that. This organization, the salespeople at the top, culture, eating strategy for breakfast. Don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. Hire smart people so they can tell us what to do.
Hey, welcome back everybody to another episode of GCC Tech Talks by 70 Experts. I'm Tom, here with my co-host Sai again as always. Today we're diving probably into a lot of operational leadership, maybe specifically into retail, because today we have Taiyab Ghafoor, who kind of spent a lot of time in the UK and in Qatar and now the UAE, so got a breadth of experience. So yeah, looking forward to this one.
So am I. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
You on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So we tend to start by diving into a little bit about you as a person and kind of how you got into some of the roles that you're doing and into retail. But cool. Yeah, let's take us back a little bit. Where you're from.
Sure.
What do you do?
Sure. Okay. There's no couch for me to lie down on or anything
couch.
Like that?
It's therapy session.
Fantastic.
Don't worry.
Great. So yeah, born and bred in South London, and did all my schooling there, university, went to King's. Growing up, I was an average student, not very sporty, but tried quite hard. And, Dad invested in private school for all of us, which was a big deal back then. And I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up, actually. Had no idea. I was a bit of an introvert, quite quiet. And then, after... I did a biology course at university because I was interested in science, but wasn't bright enough to be a doctor. But I did a part-time job at Burberry, selling menswear and stuff like that. And that's where I was passion for sales and customer service. And I really kind of came into my own in terms of my personality, becoming more extrovert, becoming more customer-centric. Then graduated from university and then joined Enterprise Rent-A-Car and their grad scheme, which is absolutely incredible, changed my life forever. They're the number one car rental company in the world, and met friends for life. They're 9 years there as a trainee manager all the way up to an area manager, and just an amazing culture, absolutely brilliant business, and lots of books have been written about it as well. And then kind of lots of leadership roles in tech, did some dry cleaning, then into car phone warehouse, which was an amazing opportunity, worked for Phones for You for a bit, and then out to the Gulf into various tech leadership roles, and now recently kind of pivoted away from corporate and running kind of my own business, a startup. I'm a COO for an e-commerce toys retailer with a very, very good friend of mine. And just focusing on that. It's our first ride. It's my personal first ride into running my own business. So really excited by that. Started in January and some really good early milestones and looking forward to the future. So
you've got a corporate, big conglomerate background, a lot of experience there, and now you're in the messy world of startups where maybe you're trying to figure out what the process is and what people...
I don't agree with that. I don't think it's messy. I think there's a lot of people that have worked in corporate 15, 20, 25 years. That's what I've seen recently, a lot of them that have taken the jump to go into startup world, to challenge themselves. It's like the old saying goes: once you've seen everything, done everything in corporate, what more is there? What more is there to kind of carry on? Also, I think the whole business about going all the way to retirement. In a corporate, it just doesn't exist no more. Personally, that's what I've seen. Yeah. There's been a lot of change in the last 10, 15 years, I think.
You have a bit of a risk appetite.
Yes,
I think.
yes.
There is
sure.
There is a safety blanket with a corporate job that goes through in recognition, and people want to achieve and become, MD or vice presidents of a big corporation.
Yep.
Others, I quite like wake up, not knowing what the next day is going to hold. And there's swings and roundabouts for that sort of thing.
I read a really interesting article the other day about a woman, worked in corporate for 23 years.
Yeah.
Decided that she wanted to live in different places around the world.
Yeah.
So she started a startup.
Yeah.
That's, like as in her speciality, and then started off in Thailand, and I think she moved on to Vietnam, and now she's in Australia. So it's like that whole backpacking thing that we do in our gap year or when we were 18. But it seems like as though it's towards the end of our life now as well. Like it's starting to take off. Personally, I like if I didn't have my little boy, my 10-year-old, I'd be doing that. Honestly.
Well, it's really funny because a friend of mine, he loves to travel, and what he said to me, I wrote a book, and now I just get invited all around the world to come and speak. So, back when Facebook was a thing, it's not really much of a thing anymore, I guess, maybe not for younger people anyway. But he was, his Facebook update will be, I'm in Johannesburg, I'm in Sydney, I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, business class flight, all-inclusive 5-star hotel, come here, do a talk for a couple of hours and then go back home and live in the dream. I was like, okay, all right for some, isn't it? And I'm in rainy South London back then.
That's it. I feel like we're in the wrong in the wrong job at the minute, or maybe got right book instead.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I agree. I mean, the thing about corporate, right, is that, I've spent the best part of 30 years in corporate, and you learn so much. And I've had the benefit of working with some really entrepreneurial organizations where you are empowered to a certain extent to run your own business. So I think the thing is that you need to be really self-motivated. You need to be a self-starter. But every day I know exactly what I'm going to do. It's not, I don't sit there and go, I'm not sure what I'm going to do today, because obviously there's certain levers that you need to pull, but you've got a good idea of what you need to do, really. Obviously, the only risk is obviously when you're in a startup, we're bootstrapped. So that obviously is challenging because you can't go out there. Because I get people all the time saying, oh, you need to invest in this marketing agency and, it'll cost you like $10,000. And I'm sitting there thinking, we can't afford that. We just need to be a bit careful about where you put the money. So no, but it's really exciting. And I think the fact that you can use all the experiences that you've had over the years and implement something. And the UAE is an amazing entrepreneurial place anyway. And they really encourage, entrepreneurs to go out there and do their own thing. And that's really refreshing.
So I think we'll dive probably into the e-commerce site in a bit.
Sure.
But going back to your, I guess, the graduate scheme and then some of your roles. So there were more managerial, operational roles. Is that predominantly been the career for you? Yeah,
I think ultimately, people say to me, what do you do? What's your product? And I have a really cheesy answer that makes my children cringe. My product's people. I've led people. I've led teams of up to 1,500 people, 53 nationalities in that team. And, that's what my passion is. And I think when you are a leader, you have responsibility to safeguard and grow your people. And that's something I'm very, very passionate about. So those have been fundamentally my roles about how you grow and get the best out of your people. And it's really interesting because I think leadership is overcomplicated, because whenever I ask young people, what are your focuses? They'll talk about sales or this KPI or that KPI or retention or customer service or stock or what have you. And for me, it's very, very simple. The key role of a leader is to make your people better. And that's where it starts and that's where it ends. Because ultimately, if you can do that, people are capable of unbelievable things. And the great thing about a place like Dubai is that there's so much unbelievable talent here. And what I love about the place is the diversity, UAE, 10, 11 million people, 1 million locals, 10 million expats, and people from all around the world with different ideas and different talents. And as a leader, I've managed some really diverse teams, and just unlocking that potential is just so exciting. And it's really funny because I have this personal rule where I reply to every single LinkedIn message I get. It's just a OCD thing, really. And you get bombarded by people trying to pitch you stuff. And I politely just say, no, not interested, or if I am. And the amount of people who contact me and say, not spoken to you for 20 years, but want to get your advice on this. And for me, some people say to me, why are you responding? That guy's not bothered to speak to you for 20 years. And in that period, lots of things have happened. And I'm like, well, if he remembers something that I did for him or her, and he sees value in that, I have a duty to respond. And that's something that really excites me, is that when people say to me, oh, you taught me this back in the day, and I still use it with my team. So I think it is about making your people better. And that's something is very close to my heart.
Great. And when we're talking about the people side, how do you go about building an exceptional team? I know you talked about making your people better, but have you got any fundamental or real world examples of building that team, letting them grow, shed some light on that?
So the thing is, I think you need to have a flexible leadership style. I think it's really, really funny because when I talk to people in the modern world of leadership, they talk about micromanagement's a dirty word, you can't do that. And I'm like, I fundamentally disagree. You can micromanage people. I love to empower people, but sometimes people need a bit of hand-holding to get to the right place. I think that in a lot of organizations I've come across, there's something what I call a fear of succession, where people don't want to develop their team too much because they fear they're going to lose their own jobs. And I think that's just a ridiculous thing, because ultimately, if you add value to an organization, talent is a fundamental asset of an organization, right? Why would they want to get rid of you or find you another home? I think for me, I'm not a big fan of Steve Jobs, but one of the things I absolutely love, and that he said, and I speak about it a lot when I talk to young people, is don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. Hire smart people so they can tell us what to do.
Right. Correct.
So what I love doing is, when I hire people, I love hiring people who I can learn off, right? It's going to be 50 next month, and all of my team is younger than me, and majority of people I work with are younger than me. But for me, there's still so much I can learn from people, and that's something that really drives me. So I think as a leader, you can't have that insecurity, because I come across a lot of leaders who are really insecure, and you can't have that. You've got to be confident in your own ability, the value that you add. But for me, as a leader, I want to constantly learn and grow as well. So I like to hire smart people. I like to hire people that I can also learn from. And for me, I think that Peter Drucker thing around culture, eating strategy for breakfast, culture was actually at business school when I did my MBA, was my favorite topic. Is about building an organizational culture where people are motivated every day to come to work, where people add value. I mean, the reality is, when you're working in corporate, especially, you spend more time with your coworkers than you do with your wife or your kids, right? So if you don't get on, if you don't have that culture, I think you're gonna fail. So for me, hire smart people, create a culture, create an environment where people can thrive, not just survive, and always help people. I tell my kids, and they get sick of this as well, is that be a good, honest person, work hard, okay, but always help others. If you've been given a gift in your position of leadership, it's your duty to help others and guide people. So that's the kind of culture that I like to create.
I love that you touched on the culture piece, because that for me is always such a big tell when when I've worked in corporate companies. I even speak to friends. I'm like, what's the office like? They're sat next to people and they don't even talk to them. They don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
I think you're sat there, like you say, all day, every day with people longer than you spend with your wife and kids.
Yeah.
You think how, building that culture just unlocks so much potential. And I've worked at companies where the culture's so good, everyone performs so well.
Yeah.
And then I've taken a leap and I've gone to other companies where the culture is so toxic and the performance is terrible.
Yeah.
And everyone's complaining and everyone's moaning about it. And you think it just snowballs into this, nasty, malicious type pointing fingers and blaming people at the end of the day. And you think, if you can get that bit right, it's so powerful in a company.
Yeah, it is. And I think I'm really blessed to have worked for some exceptional leaders. I still remember when I was at Carphone, we were area managers. We were having a kind of an away day, and Sir Charles Dunstan, his billionaire founder, he was just in the building popping through. He literally just walked in, crisp white shirt, jeans, and we were just like completely starstruck. And because he's founded the company in 1989, at the boot of his car, and he was like, and he was put on the spot because our stores director said, Charles, would you like to say something to the retail guys? And he was like, right, I've only got a few minutes. There's something I want to share with you. And it's just something that's always stuck with me. So what he did, he drew a pyramid on the wall, and he said, look, this is the way the organization is structured. You CEO at the top, then you've got stores directors and area managers and salespeople at the bottom, right? And then what he did, he then flipped it over and he said, look, forget that. This organization, the salespeople at the top, they are your most important asset. Why? Because they serve your customers every day. He was like, I could fire everyone. I could resign. Those salespeople are still here. They're still selling phones and we're still making money. But if I get rid of them, or they're unhappy, or their morale's damaged, we're finished, right? So, and what he spoke about within 5 minutes, he said the role of everyone in that pyramid, the upside down pyramid, is to serve the layer above. So for me, you talk about customers, and external customers are people who walk through your doors or visit your website. For me, it starts with the internal customer and the happiness of your people. And if your people don't come to work with a smile on their face and knowing what to do and how to do things, you're really going to miss a trick. And I think what's also interesting is, Simon Sinek, and got lots of different theories out there, and you talk a golden circle is something I really, really enjoy reading about. And if you look at businesses in general, right, they're pretty clear about what they want to do. We want to make more money. We want to serve more customers, right? But where they really lack is not just how to do it, but why are we actually doing this? And if your people don't understand that, so from a retail perspective, if my people don't understand why we're doing certain things, and also the other thing, how to do things, and I've got lots of experience where I've walked into businesses, literally rolled up my sleeves and shown people how to sell certain things, because you assume people know what they're doing, and they just don't. And the shelf life and the attrition in a sales role is really, really high, right? They get offered a little bit more money and they leave. And that's why culture is so important, right? Where they feel they're part of a brand, they can grow, and then you can also develop them internally. So, sorry, lots of different tangents there. But ultimately, I've had the benefit of working for some amazing people. But like your point as well, Tom, I've also worked in some terrible organizations with terrible cultures. And it's taught me how not to do certain things as well. Even little things like, I remember having a role in a head office once where, the leadership would sitting outside the office. They'd walk in, no good morning, no, good weekend, guys, or just head down, straight in. And I even had one where we were told we weren't allowed to approach their offices. We had to go through the PA. And I'm like, I'm a director. Surely I can just walk it. No, you have to go through my PA. Anyway, it's again,
which makes it, at that point, it's very hard to have open conversations because you've always got your back up against the wall,
and that's culture.
And that's culture.
And that's culture.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because have you been outside of retail, or is it predominantly just
I've done different. So when I've done basically retail growing up, and I did a project at Carphone called Voice of the Customer, where I developed customer journey, net promoter score, CSAT, etc. So I've done some of that as well. Then when I moved to the UAE, I joined Axiom, which was a local business, and again, amazing local brand, where I was head of retail for UAE. Then they gave me Saudi. And then I still remember walking into the CEO and he said to me, "We're going to give you distribution." And I was like, "I've never done this before." And he was like, "You're a smart guy, you'll figure it out." Okay, give me distribution, right? And then a year later, "We're going to give you e-commerce." Never done e-commerce before. "You're a smart guy, you'll figure it out." So so I've done distribution as well. And I did distribution in Qatar as well for a short period last year. So so I've done some B2B and B2C.
How would you say the role, talking about tech now, as we are a bit of a tech podcast.
Sure.
So how's technology shaped sort of your role and how you approach business, say 10 years ago versus today? Because a lot has changed and technology is just absolutely flying as we see it.
Yeah. So I think the big way has been, I think the last 3 businesses that I've gone into have been sales businesses. And these have been businesses where they literally wait for an email in the morning to talk about dashboards and numbers and stuff like that. And sometimes the guy doing the emails is off, or he's on holiday, he's called, and there's no visibility. So in the last 3 businesses that I've joined, I've actually developed Power BI dashboards, and not just a dashboard but also an app. And we had this thing that was really, really funny, where the guys would say, "We know what to do in the morning. We wake up in the morning, we say good morning to our wives or girlfriends or partners, and then we check the sales app to see what our sales have been like the previous day." So I think giving people data, hands-on data, has been really, really critical, because I think there's a real communication gap, I think, in sales businesses, where people just don't know where they stand, right? Or they're waiting for an email and the email doesn't come through. So giving people live data, especially when you go and visit a store, I think is really, really critical, because you can put up dashboards or sales-specific data for that store or the employee or various KPIs, and then you can have a really impactful, meaningful conversation. So that may seem quite hygiene, but that's a basic thing that I've seen lacking in lots of businesses that have been here. The buzzword right now is all about AI, right? And what's really, really interesting is that I talk to lots of leaders and they're thinking, "Oh, AI, where are we going to plug it into our business? We need to show we're doing something, right? And the thing is, right, I've been on a number of AI workshops and no one openly tells you what they're doing. It's all like a lot of theory, but I could tell you exactly where AI has really benefited me as a, as a business person, because a very old friend of mine has developed his own AI tool around recruitment. So he's a CEO of a company called BiteSpark.ai. And, he was like, give me a go. And, I said, there's lots of other, ATS out there and lots of platforms out. No, give me a go. So we took a punt on him, and I've worked with him now in 2 businesses. And the tool he's built is absolutely mind-blowing. So you have a job description, right? I want to hire for this role. He puts it in the tool, and this is kind of going to be the ranking based on different competencies. The role gets advertised, as usual, 2,000 people apply. Within 3 minutes, the AI software will read 2,000 CVs and score people based on your job profile. And what's mind-blowing is that it has machine learning capabilities. So the more CVs it reads, the more it learns. So I've even interviewed people that haven't had pricing on their CV, but the tool assumed because it's learned. So I think there's spaces like that where it can really revolutionize stuff like recruitment. Because one of the challenges about recruitment, right, is that, you've all seen it on LinkedIn, right? There's a job on LinkedIn, it says 3,000 people have applied. How the hell are they going to review 3,000 CVs, right? Now, there are some limitations. It doesn't, people could lie in their CV. That's why you need to have an interview. It doesn't assess cultural fit. Again, one of our favorite topics. But in terms of your job description and the profile and the scoring, it ticks all those boxes. And we've hired some, in 2 or 3 businesses I've been in, we've used the platform and we've hired some absolutely exceptional people who we probably wouldn't have got to. So I think I'm generally interested in more AI use cases, but for me, that's the most powerful one that I've come across because I've had first-hand experience of it. But I'm interested to see how else things develop from an AI standpoint. From an e-commerce standpoint, we're using AI a lot with the marketing agency to develop some really, really cool videos, some really, really cool content. But I think we've just scratched the surface. I think AI is a beast that people don't really understand and they don't know how to untap the potential. But everyone wants to shoehorn it in, say we've got AI capability. But what does that actually look like? I mean, I don't really know because I talk to people all the time and I think that's not AI. That's just a bit of tech, but it's not really AI.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of process automation that gets wrapped as AI. Okay, if you want to call it AI.
I was going to ask a question.
Yeah.
Going back to the point about the CVs.
Yeah.
Did you get the flip side though, as well, where someone's basically used AI to create their CV? When you actually go to interview them, they're not the person that's on the paper.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we typically shortlist 3 or 4 people, and then we would phone screen them and do a face-to-face. And we also, depending on the role, do an assessment. You would also get that as well. But that's why you still need an interview, right? You're not going to skip that step where we're meeting the individual face-to-face, because obviously you can create a super slick CV now using AI, right? But ultimately, you're still going to sit in front of someone in an interview, right? But it just allowed us to really shortlist people, and they were scored fairly. And I think the other cool thing about that tool is that it allows you to give feedback to people. So, I mean, having been applying for jobs throughout my career at different stages, the worst thing is when you look at a job, you think, oh, I'll be brilliant at that job. You apply and you don't hear anything back. And you think, what is going on? But the tool also replies to everyone and gives them feedback, which is really powerful. So I think that's a really interesting space. But I'm looking for other AI case studies. If you guys have got any, please do share them either here or outside the room.
Yeah, definitely got some AI case. So both Si and I work with, we work in data, tech and AI. So we run a data analytics and AI consultancy. Cool. We've actually built our own AI tool. Si has been in data, machine learning and AI for a long time.
About 20 years, yeah.
Brilliant.
Give or take, yeah. I could guide you on quite a few use cases around customer interactions, and how it's changed in the last, I would say, it's only 3 years, I would say. It's very, very fresh.
Yeah.
But it's going back to the data. It's only as good as your data is, basically.
It's garbage in, garbage out, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're now talking about a lot of unstructured data, which is kind of the new piece that no one really had before. We've got data points on sales and stock and all of that good stuff, but it's now going, okay, I can bring in weather data, I can bring in website data, I can bring in PDF data.
Yeah.
So there's all these smaller use cases where you can start building little AI chatbots on HR policy internally. So, if I'm an employee, I want to understand, okay, what am I entitled to my sick days and things?
Correct.
Taking that process of emailing HR, then finding the policy and sending you back, it's now, okay, now I've got an internal chatbot. So I think you see a lot more of those small, very niche specific use cases.
Correct.
Probably where it's lacking is that enterprise, autonomy, the autonomous AI agent that does actions on behalf. And we're not quite there because we still need that human in the loop. There still needs to be a lot of governance involved.
Yeah.
So I think, over the next 5-10 years, we're going to see that gap of how much automation are we going to allow these systems to do and take actions on our behalf, meshing that with the governance and the security and the sovereignty of regions like this, meshing it with how good is the quality of the data.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting space to be in.
Yeah, no,
I think as well, the unstructured part, because Tom mentioned it, I think the access to the unstructured data has been there, but it's always been messy. There's no way of structuring this unstructured data. In the past, we've always used structured data, databases, for the last, 30, 40 years, shall we say. I think the access to the unstructured data, the easy access to the unstructured data has made massive leaps forward as to what is achievable. I think that's I think that's the change. I think that's the change. It's the access to the unstructured data.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And I think from an e-commerce standpoint, I mean, obviously, the business that I work at, Marikids, we are constantly looking at ways to reduce friction on the website. How can we make the customer enter the website and just leave in a seamless fashion? And that's something we are constantly working on. But I think it's a really interesting space about how you can, get the customer to not just buy into your brand, believe in your brand, but just make it easy to shop. And I think e-commerce is an interesting domain in this region, because I still think that people like to go to a retail mall because of the weather. 8 months of the year, it's still very, very warm. They like to go to them. And it's like a family event, isn't it? You go on the weekend to Dubai Mall, Mall of Emirates. You go to the food court, you go to the cinema, you go to the shops, you go to the play area. It's an outdoor, it's a whole weekend activity. So e-commerce, I still think is very, very relevant in this market, and it's still going to grow, but we're not going to see the pace, I think, the growth that we've seen back home. I walk into my sister's house, there'll be Amazon boxes piled up, and then the Tesco man rocks up, and I'm like, what's going on? He goes, yeah, we don't, everything's online now here. So yeah, I think it's going to be very, very interesting, just generally from an e-commerce standpoint, how we can grow and scale, and how we can really embrace new tech to accelerate our business.
Do you know, interesting you to say that. So I brought my habits with me from the UK. I'm very, very similar to your sister.
Okay.
I brought my habits with me, and I found little ways, in order to make sure that I don't have to leave the house for certain things.
Okay.
Amazon is definitely one of them here. Flipkart is another one as well.
Yeah.
But I think the convenience here is far greater than the UK. That's my personal opinion.
It's more accessible to go to a mall here. It's cheaper.
No, I mean, as in the other way around. It's like this. Okay, so if I give you an example, friend of Dina's, Pawn and Shark here, they've got a bigger collection than the one in the UK. He wanted some T-shirts and some jeans. Last summer we were going back over there. What he did, contacted them via WhatsApp. They sent him some pictures. He sent them size. They packaged it all up. I got Flipkart to bring it to our house, and then we took it to the UK with us. He paid for it all via WhatsApp and stuff like that. That is not possible in the UK.
Yeah.
That's still not possible in the UK. So there's some advancements here that I've seen. I think the trust is bigger though. I think the trust here, there's a lot of trust towards people because everyone's got an ID, shall we say. It's not the same in the UK.
Exactly.
So I think there are gaps, I think, in the market here that can be exploited into business opportunities. I think the culture is not there in the UK, or I think the fraud is too great, shall we say, for those to turn into business opportunities, shall we say, in the UK.
And do you know what? I know they're not operating anymore, I heard, but when I tell people I don't go to the petrol station anymore. Cafe rocks up. They were like, what are you talking about?
I'm mind blown.
It's 50 degrees outside. I said, yeah, like, he rocks up, and he's also cleaning my car today.
Yeah.
He was like, what are you talking about?
Do you remember the first time you actually went back to the UK after, because you lived in Qatar first?
Yes.
Do you remember the first time you went back to the UK and you were in the car and you were waiting for the guy?
I literally sat there.
It's raining. I'm not getting out of the car.
I literally just sat there.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think the first time we went back was actually Christmas. And it was my first and last Christmas at home in 2014, because I said to my wife, it's too blooming cold, not coming back here. And the UAE is amazing in the winter. Why would you want to leave? So we just get family to come out here. I literally sat there. It was like -2 degrees. And I'm literally waiting for the guy. Like you said, waiting for the guy. Where is he? There is no guy, you got to do it yourself. And then the price of petrol, oh my God, it's so unbelievable. So yeah, I do remember that. But yeah, convenience out here is just next level. I still remember when I think my sister came out here for the first time, and you use your card and you get an SMS from the bank. And she's like, what's that, a bank SMS? I know my balance and I use my card. What's all that then? Yeah. I mean, even something as basic as that, they just make it so easy out here. So yeah, no, it's really brilliant.
Yeah. On the e-commerce side,
yes,
that's where there is a challenge, though. I see a little bit like you touched on.
Yeah,
I think with the Talabats and the Kareems of the world,
yes,
they're essentially a marketplace to a lot
Correct.
of different things.
Correct.
So unless you can get on that marketplace, then how do you get seen? Because the culture here is it's so easy to go to a shopping mall. It's an experience. In the UK, going to a shopping mall, Westfield in London, for example, it's not easy to get there.
Yeah.
It's expensive to park, it's expensive to drive, or you've got to go get a train in or something, it's just very inconvenient.
Correct.
So people do like that, day out type vibe here.
Yeah, I think, look, from an e-commerce standpoint, you've got to understand what your strengths are, right? Yeah. So for us, we were very, very clear about our strengths. So number one was we do same day or next day delivery. And that's something that we're very, very passionate about, because people want the stuff quickly. If you're dealing with kids, they've ordered something, they're waiting for it. Where is it, right? And the second thing that we've done, we've taken the leap of having our own logistics team, our own drivers. And that's important because I wanted customers to deal with one of my guys, because, just to make sure they're okay, if you've got the right item, what have you, rather than a third-party driver. Now, ultimately, we do have to use 3PL sometimes. If I've got an order next day and it's in rack, we're not going out there. The other thing that we've done around delivery is and it costs us investor-wise, it's very expensive, but we do free delivery across the UAE. So we delivered an item for 9 dirhams the other day into Abu Dhabi. And I still remember my ops guy saying, why are we doing this? And I was like, we're doing it because we're building the trust of the customer. Because that customer will come back if we give them a great experience. So I think as long as you know what your strengths are and what you want to, where you want to leverage. Otherwise, if you're just doing the same as everyone else, you're probably not going to grow. And to your point, the Talabats of this world and the Kareems of this world. But for us, we wanted a more personalised service at the doorstep of our customer. And we wanted the delivery to be fast. And also we're offering it for free. And that's something we're keen on doing. We have actually pivoted to turn on a delivery charge, and we've seen the impact of that. So again, as e-commerce, you try and you test things and then you learn, and that's the beauty about being an entrepreneur, right? Because it's me and my partner who's the CEO, and we sit there and say we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and that's what I really love about running your own business. Obviously, it has a lot of other stresses as well, but having that full autonomy to do stuff is really, really cool. And again, using your corporate experience to do that.
Talking about the pricing, are you doing that in an automatic pricing way? So if it's outside a certain radius or delivery time, it will then switch on the pricing. That's how you
we don't have dynamic pricing. Our pricing is fixed throughout everywhere, because as a startup, the key thing that we want to do is grow our brand and be relevant for consumers. And I think every single month we're seeing more transaction volumes going up, visits to the website going up. We monitor our Google reviews so we get customer feedback. We have the team are on WhatsApp responding to customers. I didn't want to go down the bot route just now. I had a nightmare. My son was supposed to come out from the UK and his flight got cancelled, and just being on talking to a bot all day long trying to get a refund is an absolute nightmare, just from an experience standpoint. Granted, when it works well, it works fine, but when it doesn't, it doesn't. So we wanted to make sure everything we did was very personalised at this stage, so we can really scale and get a repeat customer base, and then we'll look at doing different things. So right now our pricing is static. We do review our pricing every single week to make sure we're competitive, and we do have offers and what have you. But right now we want to build our brand, become relevant within the space. The toy space is a very, very interesting market. It's a massive market in the UAE. So we're very excited about what we can do in this space.
Well, when my kids are finally over, we'll definitely be on the website having a look at stuff for them. For sure.
You're more than welcome.
What's one mistake you've made throughout your career that you've learned something from that you could partake to our, or you could give to our listeners?
I think that when you're in a corporate mindset, you are constantly stuck in that 9 to 5, 9 to 6. Then you get home, it's family time, and you don't have time to do anything else. You're in that kind of hamster wheel. I think that I should have taken time aside for myself to do other things. I've got loads of content of a book that I want to write, and I've got a lot of that stuff sitting there. I'm now starting to make some headway. There's some articles that I want to write. I want to do some podcasts with some friends of mine and stuff like that. But aside from that, I get approached now, not being in corporate, for lots of consulting gigs or advisory stuff that I could have done previously. Again, non-conflict stuff. It's a different sector, and you get the approval from the corporate that you're working with. But when you're in corporate, you're just on that hamster wheel. And the thing is, you don't even realise. I mean, I've done 12 years in the Gulf now, and my oldest is in university in the UK. I've got, an older daughter as well. She's in the university here, and you don't even realise where time flies. So I think that one bit of advice would be, don't be like a one-trick pony, and don't get caught up on that hamster wheel. Just really understand what your passion is, and understand where you can invest that time. Because I refuse to believe no one has time or an hour or two for themselves throughout the week. You can invest that time. All right. It could be a lunch break. It could be an afternoon. It could be an early morning. And the other key thing is just personal health. I think that, I think your own fitness journey is related to your mental health as well. I think mental health is something that is really, really underplayed in this part of the world. Not as part of the world, but just in general. My late mother suffered from dementia and Alzheimer's, and that's why it's very, very relevant to me and very close to my heart. But I think, just doing little things like going for walks, going for a run. I try and do kind of 4 or 5K runs 2-3 times a week. It's just me, the music, and the road. And it does wonders for your physical health, but it does wonders for your mental health as well. And I think out here, the food here is amazing, right? It's very, very hot 8 months of the year. So it's not really set up always. And it's very easy for you to go, I'm not going to go out for a walk. I'm not going to go for a run. I'm not going to play paddle. It's too hot. And I'm just going to go and have a burger. And I think investing that time in your health is really, really important. And I think both of you guys have got kids, and I think your kids are a lot younger than mine. But that time flies, man. Mm-hmm. You don't even realise, you blink. I mean, my son's at medical school, and, I'm like, where did the time go? And I say to my kids all the time, I wasn't a very good dad, was I? I didn't spend much time with you. And they're like, no, you were the best. You were so cool. And that kind of gives me a bit of comfort.
Do you know what I was going to add to that is, when I first got here as well, I thought to myself, it's too hot. What I started to do was go out at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. My passion is cycling. So I go to Al Qatar.
Brilliant.
Diving is another passion of mine, which we've discussed quite a lot on the show. But I think, back to your point about the fitness, your fitness and that training regime that you try and embed on a weekly basis, daily basis, whatever, whichever you pick, it frees your mind in order to do things outside of the corporate world.
Yeah.
Once you, like you said, once you get on that hamster wheel, if you don't get off that hamster wheel, in some form, it doesn't matter if it's exercise, if it's yoga, if it's art on a Wednesday night, or salsa on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I think that is the first step towards getting out of that culture, shall we say?
Yeah.
And doing something for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just disconnecting. So even little things like, my sister, who's a dentist in the UK, she's going through her own fitness journey at the moment. And, we talk about how many steps we've done throughout the day. And even when I was in Dubai Hills Mall day before yesterday, I spend a lot of time there in the coffee shops and meeting people. The Wi-Fi is brilliant. It's an amazing mall and free parking and everything. But I spend a lot of time taking my calls, walking around. because you don't have to be sat there with an Americano. You can actually do your call. The Wi-Fi is great, and you can do a call while you're walking around. And then before you know it, it's midday and you've done like 8,000, 9,000 steps. And it has such a huge impact on your cardio fitness and what have you. And obviously being a parent, we're all three of us are dads. You want to be here as long as possible for your children, to see them grow and settle down and get married and have kids. And so I think it's really important to be disciplined when you're out here, because it's very easy. And it's really, really interesting, because being out here is really, really funny, because I've got kind of two extremes of friends. I've got the friends who are, a lot of them who are just overweight because they like the food and they don't go out. And then I've got a lot of group friends who are just super fit, because everything is so aesthetically beautiful here, right?
Yeah.
The people are beautiful, the buildings are beautiful, the cities are beautiful, and you just want to look good, right? So I think that's really important. You're not only just a physical fitness, but your mental health is just so important. So whatever you do, just take some time out for yourself, I'd say.
Yeah, I've definitely got that split of friends. Ones that are not so healthy, and other ones that are so obsessed with their CrossFits and their, I forget what the acronyms are, the names that have, going around, and you think you just look like chiseled out granite, and I'm like, I don't want to go work out with you. You make me look bad.
You photoshopped.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll leave it. One last sort of thought to leave with.
Sure.
What should leaders and businesses, do you think, prepare for in the next 12 to 18 months in the UAE? What should they be thinking about?
Yeah. So I think that there's going to be lots of ongoing technological advancements, and I think that creating a culture where people don't fear tech is so important, because I've seen lots of what I call forced adoptions of tech in various businesses that I've been in, and the failures have been because they haven't engaged people, or the people on the ground around that, and explaining people as to how this is going to make your life easier, not just for you and for the customer. I think that creating that culture again is so important around allowing people to be open and to help them adopt technology. Because ultimately, when you do bring technology into either a physical retail store, for example, ultimately it's your salesperson on the ground who needs to use it and believe in it. And I think there are lots of people out there who potentially have that fear around what is AI going to do and what's it going to do for my job, and am I going to be here, am I not going to be here? I think it's just going to create more opportunities. That role may not exist, but maybe another role might open up as a result of it. So having people who are agile and having that learning agility where you can just pivot and change is really, really important. And again, that comes from hiring the right people with the right mindset, the right talent, the right thought process, that openness to, engage and adopt tech is just so critical. Growth mindset, right, is just so critical. So I think that leaders in the UAE who have that team that can pivot and adapt and have that agility is going to be so important. And this is a market which, the leaders of this great country have, the way they are able to recover from things like the pandemic, it's just been so incredible. And I think we're going to see that as well as we come out of this challenging situation that the world has found itself in, where Dubai will be and the UAE will be back at its best, because that's what they've done since 1971, and it's incredible what they've built.
I'm so glad you mentioned about the culture and that tech, because we deploy technology, and I see it time and time again. The businesses that do it well and get the ROI are the ones where they engage the business, leadership's bought into it. It's pushed out. This is why we're using it. And they're engaged in that process of even just evaluating the technology. Yeah. Because when someone buys, someone in IT buys some technology and rolls it out, by the way, using this today, 9 times out of 10, it tends to fall flat on its face, at least to begin with, because, you're kind of forcing it upon that end user. Yeah. So I think that's a fantastic piece of advice there.
Yeah. I think the only thing I wanted to add is recently I've seen, that old question, is AI going to take my job? Yeah. I think everyone needs to address that question. The success stories that I've seen is show them the journey. Yeah. It might be on different levels, but show them the journey that you're going on. Be honest, be transparent. Yes, it's going to be a short-term, eradication of duty, should we say, but the long-term plan is this. Then they start to buy in. And I think that's what a lot of people were missing, say 6 months ago. that everyone's started to realize that we need to show transparency. If you show that transparency, everyone's in. And the progress that you make is phenomenal in this very, very short period of time.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Just creating a culture where you're transparent about everything is just so important. And it's not just that, it's just about performance. I mean, so many people in organizations don't know how they're performing because they haven't had an appraisal, or their manager, I don't want to talk to him because, he might get upset. I mean, just transparency overall is just so fundamental. And I think you're right. It's become an elephant in the room a little bit for a lot of organizations, when a lot of people are scratching their head, especially at entry level, right? They're scared because they don't know. And yeah, you're right. Leaders haven't put that to bed by telling people exactly where they want to go and what they want to do. And I think, again, that comes back to an earlier point that I made. As a leader, you have a safeguarding responsibility towards your people. Yep. And that is so critical.
I think the resistance comes from there as well. The resistance towards change and technology comes towards them not knowing the path and the journey that they're going on. And I think, touching upon your point, the unsuccessful projects are usually down to, it starts off with resistance. That's what I've seen from my experience.
Yeah, and it's not about the idea, it's the implementation, the execution. And if people are not engaged around it, and again, it becomes a little bit like they're thinking that they're like turkeys voting for Christmas, where if I do a good job of executing this, I might lose my job because the tech will replace me. And they have that fear factor, don't they? And you've got to remember the challenge they've got is, lots of the entry-level positions that you have across retail or whatever business you're in, it doesn't matter where you are, generally, they're either young people or they're not highly educated people, right? But their passion is sales and service and what have you. So they may not understand. But they're seeing, if I implement this, I might lose my job. Let's not make it. Let's not do a good job. And again, that impacts the overall organisation because, again, they've not been engaged, and it comes back to that culture.
Definitely. Well, wonderful conversation. Really appreciate you having you on. If people wanted to connect with you, best way, LinkedIn, I assume?
Yeah, LinkedIn, you can share that.
What we'll do is we'll put LinkedIn profile in the show notes. Also, the company. So if you've got kids, please do a bit of shopping on the e-commerce website. We'll share that with the audience as well.
Fantastic.
Please follow, subscribe to the show. Taiyab, brilliant to have you on. Thanks so much for coming.
My pleasure.
Really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, cheers, Si. Thank you very much.
As always.
Yeah, as always. Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Appreciate it. That was good. Yeah, cheers, mate.
Yeah. Always good. Do you want to get a shot before we...
Yeah, we'll get one shot quickly, if that's all right.